In this lecture, we will start the practice itself, and the first thing we are going to model here are the exterior walls. Let's begin working in the level 0 view, which is the ground floor. However, if it's not open on your screen, click on the view at the project browser. Now, before we start, let's check out the project units. There are two ways. You can go to the Manage tab and click on the project units icon, or type the shortcut UN. So, as you can see here, the units are grouped by discipline. For example, the Common tab displays the general units, or probably the most used ones, like area, distance, length, or angles. Then you can find in the other tabs specific units in the fields of structural, electrical, piping, etc. Okay, let's go back to the Common tab and look at the parameters. We can see that at this moment the length is in millimeters, the area in square meters, angle in degrees, the distance in centimeters, and so on. Now let's click on length to open the dialog for editing the unit format. And here in the first field we can change the length to one of the available units. I will keep millimeters. On rounding, we can add decimal places, but since we'll be using millimeters for length, we won't need decimals here. Below that, there is an option to place the millimeter symbol next to the value. We can also check this box to suppress trailing zeros, but this only makes sense when we are using decimal places, like in this example here. Since we are not using decimals, this option doesn't matter. So click on OK and close the Project Units window. Now we can start the exterior walls. To create the wall, go to the Architecture tab and find this Wall Architecture icon. Click there. Now, the first thing we need is to choose the wall type, and you can see this list with the current types that are loaded in this project. The exterior walls are located at the top of the list. Due to that, let's go for this one. Then click on Edit Type. And because I'm going to do changes here, and as this is a default wall, it's better to not lose it, I'm going to duplicate this type and choose a name that suits well. Also, don't worry if you can't find exactly this wall type on your list. If it's your case, just pick up the most similar wall available. That's not a problem, because we are going to edit the structure right now. Then for the name, choose for example exterior wall 350 mm and click on OK. Next, I can edit the width if I want, but not in this place. It doesn't work. To edit the width, we have to go to this button instead on Structure and edit the thickness of each layer separately. For now, let's keep everything how it is, but let's start being familiar with the wall components. This current wall type has a finish face with 50 mm of thickness. Then there is a thermal air layer, and the proper structure, made from metal, measures 200 mm. Then it's also possible to change the material of each layer in this button. You can see that there is a big list here, but this is something I'm going to skip because we will not need it in this early stage of this course. So, I'm going to start drawing the exterior walls using the floor plan level 0, which is this one, the ground floor. Select the type we have created. This one, the exterior wall 350 mm. And look that the temporary tab opened in the ribbon, which is specifically for placing walls. In the Draw panel, we need to choose one of the methods available, and we will stay with the Line tool. Then, below the ribbon, we can see the Options bar. To start, let's keep everything how it is, except the location line, which is set by default as a wall center line. Instead, we have to use the finish face, which is set by default as exterior. Now I'm going to click to start drawing the wall. Then move to the right horizontally and type the distance of 1200 to 100 millimeters. It is the same as 12 meters and 20 centimeters. After pressing enter, we can draw another wall, this time a vertical one, and make sure you can see this label called vertical and extension. To set the dimension, there are two ways. Type the value with the keyboard, or click when this temporary dimension line matches the value that you want. For example, if I want exactly 5 meters, I have to click right now, because in Revit, unlike AutoCAD, the length is exactly the value showing there and not something approximate. Another thing, pay attention to what the dimension is actually measuring. And in this case, it's correct because our location line is on the inner side of the walls. Now, this is 8 meters and a half, and let's go forward. To draw the next horizontal line, I'm going to drag to the left, and this time I can find this intersection point. As this wall has the same length as the first one, I click there, and finally I can connect the last wall to my origin. If I click exactly in this endpoint, we will close the chain and we finish drawing the exterior walls of this house. Now let's save the file to your computer, and I suggest an organized way to help you easily find it later. First, go to the File tab and in Save As, save it as a new project. Choose a location where you typically save documents, or any place you find appropriate. Next, create a folder for this course, and you can use the course name as the title. Inside that folder, create another folder named Resources for the files I provide in these lectures. Then, create a separate folder for your practice files. Open it. And now you can save your project here. Choose a descriptive name like Project Practice. And finally, click on Save. Now I want to teach you an important tip. In Revit, while each save updates the current file, it also creates backup copies. This means that if you make a mistake or your main file is corrupted and you cannot open it, you can easily recover from a backup copy indicated by these numbers. Also, in Options, you can set the number of backups that you want. It defaults to 3 backups, which I think it's a reasonable value.